Today is first Saturday, and it's the month of May, so I'll be heading to Knock. We have the men's rosary at 1 p.m. today, and there is a rosary rally next Saturday, the 11th of May, and a lot of things happening this month. And then on the Saturday, the 2nd of June, or the 1st of June, sorry, there's an All-Ireland pilgrimage to Knock. So tons of stuff happening. Well, I just wanted to kind of blog about something that fell into my lap. And I'm always amazed what God sends his way to me to blog about. And after Jim Brown's funeral on Thursday, there is a bookshop in Westport that sells antique books, and I walked into the shop, and then there was this book, the English Letters of Abbot Marmion, and it was €35. But I was reading the book in the store, and something spoke to me about this book. As people will remember, I went to Dom Columba Marmion's tomb last year on the 100th anniversary of his death. Now, he's blessed, Dom Columba Marmion, so he will be a saint. Blessed Dom Columba Marmion. And I remember blogging about it and people saying, oh, we don't know who Dom Columba Marmion is. Which I find very sad in a way. There are so few Irish saints who have been beatified or canonized in the last couple of 100 years, and Dom Columba Marmion serves as a light in the spiritual space. But I suppose in all of this we see the hand of our Lord in the midst of this. I did like the location. I did like Maritzu. I just I found it a very sad visit for me in many ways. But Dom Columba Marmion stands as a beacon, as a light in Irish Catholicism. And if you don't know who he is and who his writings and what he wrote, I do encourage people to get his writings. But I had never read this book or never seen this book. And like so many books that you find in second-hand bookstores, this one was owned by the Presentation Brothers in Mayville Turner's Cross in Cork. You can actually see the stamp. So they must have liquidated their library, or the community must have closed. I don't know. I don't know. And so it was owned. And on page 54, there was this card. Maybe somebody will know who this brother is. Brother Henry Allen. And there's a kind of a mass card in there for a brother, a Charles A. McCarthy, that must have died in 1984. But anyway, on the back of this envelope, there's two letters in this book I want to talk about. The one is the one that this brother he's written it on the back of an envelope on this memorial card, and it was stuck in this book. And I find it interesting when you pick up a book and you see what somebody else has meditated on and read about. So I'm just going to read you out two letters from this book. And I do encourage people to read Dom Columba Marmion's books. You know, he has this wealth of knowledge on St. Paul, you know, on this gift that we are children of God. We are adopted children of God, and God so loves us. And this experience of God that Saint Dom Columba Marmion had, blessed Dom Columba, it leaps out from the paper. You know, there are some writers where the author will leap out from the paper, and that's what, for me, Dom Columba Marmion does. Anyway, so this is a letter that the Brother McCarthy, or Brother Allen, sorry, Brother Henry Allen. If people knew or know who he is, I'd love to know. So Brother Allen highlighted this letter in this book, and it is the only letter that I see where he has the pencil on this page. So it's a letter from the 2nd of July 1896, And just to put it in perspective, Dom Columba Marmion, he was ordained as a priest for the Diocese of Dublin. He was ordained in Rome, and then as he was travelling, I think on his travels to Rome, where he was studying, he visited the Benedictine Abbey of Marezzu, which used to be a jewel. They had this amazing frescoes, and this abbey before it was all renovated in the 1950s. And Dom Columba went there in the early days of the foundation of this Benedictine monastery in Marezzu in Belgium, and there was also a female Benedictine monastery that's like 10 minutes away. But anyway, I'm just going to read you this letter, kind of trotting on the footsteps of an Irishman that read this letter. My dear Sister Alphonsus, I received your letter this morning just before starting for Louvain, where I am to stay for a few days. I am very sorry to hear of poor Sister Stannis' death. I am sorry because you are so few in number that you cannot afford to lose anyone. For her it is a favour to be for all eternity with God, in peace and love, free from sin, secure from temptation, knowing none of those miseries which dog our steps as long as we remain here below. I shall pray for her, and have had her recommended to the prayers of my brethren. For although hers was a simple, holy soul, yet God's sanctity is so great that even in his angels he finds imperfections. Please tell Reverend Mother how sincerely I condole her in this trial, and that I beg God to send you others to take her place and do his work. I was very much pleased to hear of Mother Columba's letter that Sister Evangelist was so much better. God grant her the grace to use this new term of life which he gives her solely for his glory and for his love. And this is where the brother has underlined the following paragraph. So I'm just going to read the whole letter out. Every day I live, I see more and more that there is but one thing which is worth living for, and that is God's glory. In all that he does, he seeks his own glory. To do otherwise would be contrary to his sanctity and an imperfection. And for us, what can be nobler than to unite our will with his in seeking his glory purely in all we do? In seeking his glory, he seeks our good. So in seeking his glory, he seeks our good. For God's glory as regards his creatures consists in communicating his love and grace and joy to them. And we can glorify God by our actions, for although in themselves they are very little and mean, united to those of Jesus Christ, they give an infinite glory to the Blessed Trinity. And all the infinite riches of his Sacred Heart are ours, more truly than anything we possess in this world, if we are united to him by divine grace. O my dear child, I would wish to engrave on your heart, in letters of gold, this truth, that no matter how great our misery, we are infinitely rich in Jesus Christ, if we unite with him, if we lean on him, if we realize constantly by a firm living faith that all the value of our prayer and of all that we do comes from his merits in us. All this is contained in two texts. Without me, you can do nothing. I can do all things in him who strengthens me. Try then to become a saint by acknowledging to yourself the full extent of your past miseries, past unworthiness, and possibly of future infidelity, and at the same time honouring the Father through Jesus Christ by reposing with the most absolute confidence in his infinite merits. by him, in him, and with him, as we say daily in Holy Mass. All glory is given to the Blessed Trinity, and even the praises of the angels do not ascend to God except through Jesus Christ, as we sing daily in the preface of the Mass, by whom the angels praise thy majesty. Therefore the acts of praise, of oblation, of adoration, of acceptance of humiliations, of contempt, made in union with Christ, especially after Holy Communion, are infinitely agreeable to the Holy Trinity. August 4th, this letter had been interrupted for more than a month. So he started writing this letter on July the 2nd, 1896, and he resumes writing it on August 4th. This letter has been interrupted for more than a month. We have been up to our ears with examinations university, so you must excuse. We have 2 of our young people ordained priests last Sunday, your feast. They are to say the first Masses on August 6th and 7th. I shall have your name put on the pat. They are full of fervour, and they come here quite young. They know very little of the world's wickedness except from books. What a joy for Jesus to enter with such pure hearts entirely consecrated to him, knowing no other affliction and yearning to make him known and loved by others. We old fellows, after our long years of priestly life, are nearly dried up like old cabbage leaves. But these young hearts are full of unction and fervour, so I'll give them to pray for you and for dear Drummore. From what I hear, from what I hear, I am to have very little to do next year. These young people will take up some time of my work, and the old pots which be laid up on the shelf are rare specimens of antiquity. So I will bury myself in the Sacred Heart and try to make some little progress in prayer and interior life. Pray for me with that intention. My affect, love to Mother Columba, and my affect regards to Reverend Mother and all the sisters. Your father in Jesus Christ, Dom Columba Marmion. So he must have been writing to, is it Drummore West? So Sister Alphonsus was in Drummore West, because the next letter here, which is, there's no date on it. It must be the same period. The next, I'll just read out the next letter. Drummore West. Oh no, he is in Drummore West, County Waterford. Okay, so I'm sure somebody that knew Dom Columba Marmion will be able to decipher some of the places that he visited. Dom Columba Marmion, Maritzu, was caught up in the First World War, and the community had to come to Ireland at some stage during the war and then return to Maritzu. And not only that, Maritzu was a community that was founded by German monks, I believe. And of course, the First World War, where you have Germany mixed up, it was a very difficult time. But look, I do encourage people to read Dom Columba Marmion's writings. I've been reading them for 30 years. And to be honest, when I first read them, I didn't really appreciate what he wrote. And it's very sad, but nobody really kind of explained this to me at the time. But years later, I've kind of come back to this author, to this man, and I just find him a very inspiring writer. But this is the letter that I want to blog about. Okay, this is the letter I want to blog about, the last letter. This is a letter that he wrote in the Abbey of Maritzu on the 23rd of January, 1923. And why is this letter so important? Because it's the last letter that he wrote. This is the last letter that he wrote. And he didn't know he was dying. And it's just, as they have a footnote here about this letter, unwittingly Abbot Marmion was writing his spiritual testament for this letter, with 2 others sent that same day to other correspondents. The last he wrote, the same day he was obliged to take to bed on account of the illness that was to bring him home to God just a week later, on January 30th. It was he whom God was calling to pass through the veil and dwell there with Jesus in love. Anyway, I'm just going to read you out this letter. It was very poignant. It was surreal just to read what somebody wrote, not knowing that this was the last thing that they were going to write. And these are the English letters of Dom Columba Marmion. So maybe the other letters that he wrote that day were probably in French, or in some, I don't know if he spoke other languages other than maybe Italian, I don't know, or French, but it probably in French. And so these are the English letters that he wrote, and this is the last English letter that he wrote before dying. Blessed Dom Columba Marmion's letter. Anyway, I'll read this out. My dear child, I think he's writing to a sister, and you'll see it through the letter. Just a little word straight from my heart to tell you I am with you in your offering. Saint Paul says, Christus pro omnibus crucifixus est, justus pro injustus, ut nos offeret Deo. Christ died once for all, the just and the unjust, that he might offer us to God. 1 Peter 13:18. What the crucified Christ offers his Father is ever acceptable, however miserable we may be. I am offering Mass for you on the 25th, asking Jesus to take you through the veil, that his crucified humanity into the Holy of Holies. During our little retreat, I hope to show you what this Holy of Holies is. I just thought, just think about it. These are the last words, his testament before he dies. I mean, I don't think he ever got to celebrate that Mass. I don't think he ever got, because he died a week later and he took to bed that evening. But I'm offering Mass for you on the 25th, asking Jesus to take you through the veil, that his crucified humanity into the Holy of Holies during our holy retreat. I hope to show you what this Holy of Holies is. I want it to be our home. Father, says Jesus, I will take there where I am, my servant also may be. I want to pass through the veil and dwell there with Jesus in love. This program is high, but it is our destiny. His last words. It's just, I don't know, it's just, I was so emotional reading this letter. This program is high, but it is our destiny. It is God's wish. It is the fruit and object of the passion of Jesus. I am really sorry not to be at, it doesn't say where, for your profession. I'm wondering, is it a convent in London or in England? I'm not sure. But there is no distance for us united to Christ. I want you to take this little retreat with great fervour, as it contains the programme of that journey, which I am to guide you by during your life. My dear child, I have very deep sufferings of heart and soul at present. I know you pray for me, as I do daily for you. Your Father in Jesus Christ, Abbot Columba. And then postscript. I expect to arrive early on the 6th, so as to begin that evening. If you like to see me before beginning, you have but to call me. And he's talking about 6th of February, which never happened. He died on the 30th of January. So he's writing this letter to this, I believe it's a sister, and letting her know that, look, he's arriving to this retreat on the 6th, or he's probably giving the retreat, and that they could talk before the retreat. And it never happened. It never happened. That was his last letter. Like, it's I mean, when you think about it, what would be the last thing that somebody writes before they die? Like, what if today was your last day, what would you leave behind you? And this is such a powerful letter for me. It's such a powerful letter. I want us to pass through the veil and to dwell there with Jesus in love. I mean, it's just, I mean, it's, maybe I just found it very, very, very emotional reading this, this after, knowing that this was the last thing that he wrote. And we don't have very many Irish blessed saints. And Dom Columba, he just, he has a capacity, a very simple capacity to engage people in the faith, to talk about these things. And I suppose it's just a book that I found very, very easy to read. And I don't know if it's still in print or not. I'm sure that the monks, the brothers, have this. Sadly, when I was in Maritzu last year, I didn't find many English writings of Dom Columba Marmion, and I did ask, even in their guest house library, I was going through the books, and I sadly didn't find these things. But anyway, if people were, I'll try and see if people want to know more. I'd like to blog about it. But I just thought, just think about, I suppose, the meditation here. What would be the last thing you would want to leave? But also just meditating on this. I'm offering Mass for you on the 25th of January, asking Jesus to take you through the veil. That his crucified humanity, that is his crucified humanity, to take you through the veil that is his crucified humanity into the Holy of Holies. During this little retreat, I hope to show you what this Holy of Holies is. I want it to be our home. Father, says Jesus, I will that there where I am, my servant also may be. I want us to pass through the veil and to dwell with Jesus in love. What an incredible spiritual testament of a great Irish saint. Anyway, God bless you. Take care. Bye bye.